As many of you have probably not heard by now, the U.S. state is now on the offensive against anti-cop city protesters, those who protest against building a major cop training facility near Atlanta. They've now filed 61 RICO charges against the protesters in punishment for their years-long activist movement. As some of you may recall, Stop Cop City movement was created to halt the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. It would be the largest police training facility in the U.S. It's planned to be built at the Unruhe Forest. The largest black population has opposed its construction since day one, but the city has ignored them. Cop City is planned to have a military-grade training facility with a mock city to practice urban warfare, dozens of shooting ranges, and a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad. RICO laws are specifically used to fight organized crime. The fact that they are being used to combat people who have protested an unpopular government decision is very draconian and very telling of where human rights and the basic democratic right to protest the government stands in the United States right now. An attorney representing the accused, Don Samuel, spoke on the matter. The notion that RICO would be invoked to punish protesters engaging in a widely supported challenge to a government decision is a giant leap in the wrong direction. Threatening peaceful protesters with the seizure of their money and a 20-year prison sentence not only mocks the purpose of the statute, it represents an assault on the most important and cherished rights of all American citizens. The right to protest, the right to seek redress of grievances, the right to enlist friends, colleagues, and the community to challenge government policy because the citizens want change. The charges allege that the Atlanta Solidarity Fund is the center of alleged criminal activity. They're being accused of being responsible for every post on the website scenes.noblogs.org. They're accused of funding illegal activity. In addition, they are being charged with 15 counts of money laundering from transactions dating back to the 12th of January 2022 for as little as $11.91 for the purchase of glue, according to the Atlanta Press Collective. Additionally charged is a legal observer, Thomas Jurgens. His only function was to act as an observer for the Southern Poverty Law Center, marked apart from the protesters by a bright yellow hat. The organization has denounced the move, charging one of its employees. We are outraged that the police officers present at the protest refused to acknowledge Tom's role as a legal observer and instead chose to arrest him. We are confident that the evidence will demonstrate that he was a peaceful legal observer. Now, what this all stems from is two individuals. One of them who has not been caught and is still out there and is unknown. Another who has only signed his name as ACAB. Basically, what's happened is that at some point, someone allegedly threw a Molotov cocktail at some piece of equipment. This was considered to be an act of terrorism. Therefore, according to the police and their application of RICO laws, is that anyone who was associated with protesting Cop City whatsoever has now engaged in a criminal activity and is therefore responsible for what that person did. If one person is guilty of something, then everybody else is automatically guilty of everything else as well. This is a very clear abusive use of that law. These atomized individuals are not responsible for each other's actions. If there was a protest for something, it's not a case where everybody knows everybody else and knows what they're doing or even agrees with what everybody else is doing. All they're really doing is finding a legal means to suppress any and all speech against the construction of Cop City using RICO laws in order to do so. The danger here is that the police are being given what is basically a military training facility to practice assaulting civilian areas around the country. The move is no doubt a response to the increasing social unrest as a result of the continuing collapse of American capitalism. As the increasing strong arm measures required to maintain it. Another aspect of this, largely ignored by the mainstream media, is the fact that it would make Atlanta the most surveilled city in the U.S. under Operation Shield. The plan is to build an 11,000 camera network that would spy on the public at all times. The plot calls on for public and private funding, as well as calling on private businesses to connect their local cameras as part of their spy network. What is particularly disturbing about this spy network is that the ACLU has already shown significant studies that shows that constant surveillance of the public is not effective in any meaningful way. There's no real benefit to actually doing this, and it shows that the surveillance tends to disproportionately target black citizens, up to 1.5 to 2.5 times their actual actual numbers within the population. So once again, as a repressive state measure, it does disproportionately affect the black population of the United States. It's very clear what's happening here. The police and the government, particularly that in Atlanta, are looking to punish the population for not wanting essentially a militarized police training facility in their backyard. The vast majority of the population did not want it there, and the majority of it was black, which was probably why the wishes of the community were ignored to begin with. What these measures represent is a deliberate misuse of organized crime in order to punish anyone and everyone who was a part of protesting Cop City to begin with. And this is very clearly what is happening. Any legal expert can really tell you that they really don't have much of a case when it comes to any application of RICO laws. There may be any number of individual laws that you may be able to place on individuals for acts that they may or may not have carried out. But detailing this as some kind of widespread criminal conspiracy is just simply nonsense and is a very clear and blatant abuse of the law. And hopefully once all of this does eventually go to court, which they are certainly going to force it to, that it does get thrown out on those grounds. But what we're seeing is very important: the deliberate and malicious criminalization of any opposition to government policy with regards to policing. People do not want militarized police in their neighborhoods. And that's not just simply the black population. Even the white population would not want this either. Even the most of the upper class would not want militarized police driving around their neighborhoods as well, probably because it would hurt their property values. Nobody actually wants them here, but there is one section of the population that does want them roaming around another section of the population because of the class distinction between the two. This does send us a very clear warning, and particularly those in the United States, particularly those in the Atlanta area, that there is an increasing draconian effort on the part of the state to criminalize anyone who opposes law enforcement or government policy in general when it comes to trying to control the poor and to keep the public in line with the wishes of the ruling class in general, while completely and wholly failing to serve the public in general. And that's what's really going on here. And if you go to the links in the description, you will find resources that would be helpful in helping those who are currently under assault by the Atlanta government right now. And I highly suggest that anyone who feels deeply about this subject, about those being assaulted by the government right now for protesting legitimately and peacefully standing up to what is a blatant abuse of power and the militarization of the police, go to those links in the description and help out those who are currently trying to combat this right now. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.